The sound started before I even reached the building. A low metallic clang, as if a door deep inside had been slammed with force. Alton Mental Health Hospital stood ahead of me, its red brick facade dim in the overcast afternoon light, the structure hulking against the Missouri River fog. Built in the 1800s, expanded, altered, it still carried its original weight. Iron-barred windows, arched entryways, heavy oak doors weathered by decades. I had signed on as part of a maintenance assessment team, tasked with a sweep of the east wing and basement mechanical areas. The place was still active as a state hospital, though much of the oldest wings had been shuttered for years, locked off and rarely entered. Those were the areas I had been given to check: outdated wiring, plumbing routes, air ducts. As I stepped inside, the smell hit me. Layers of disinfectant clashing with mildew, old plaster, and the faint copper tang of rust. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead, casting the long hallways in a harsh, pale glow. Paint peeled in long strips, curling from the walls like brittle parchment. The atmosphere pressed down immediately. I could hear my own breath echoing softly in the emptiness. My boots squeaked on linoleum tiles that had bubbled in patches from water damage. Every shadow looked sharper here, every corner darker than it should have been. I began with the east wing. The first corridor was lined with closed patient rooms, windows high and narrow, covered by grime. Some doors had reinforced observation panels. I peered through one. Inside was nothing but a stripped bed frame bolted to the floor, paint flaking from the ceiling above it. As I noted the condition, something tapped against the far door. 3 quick raps, distinct, hollow. I froze, pulse climbing. My flashlight beam cut across the hallway. No one was there. The doors all stood still. The rapping came again, closer this time, against the panel nearest me. I jolted backward, heart hammering. The sound stopped. Silence settled like dust. I forced myself to move on. The hallway opened into a larger ward space, wide with tiled pillars, broken down gurneys, cracked tiles underfoot. The air was colder here. My breath formed faint mist as I crossed. From the far side, a wheelchair rolled slowly out of the shadows into the open. No one pushed it. It squeaked once, then stopped. Adrenaline shot through me, my muscles locked. I stared, waiting for an explanation. Air vent pressure, a draft, something. But the chair stood motionless, angled toward me. The ceiling light above it flickered violently, buzzing, before burning out altogether, plunging that end of the ward into gloom. I turned away quickly, heading for the stairwell at the corner. My boots clanged against the metal steps as I descended, echoing too loudly. At the landing, water stains streaked the concrete wall, dark patches spreading from a pipe junction. Halfway down, I heard footsteps behind me. Slow. Heavy. Not mine. I turned, shining my light upward. The staircase was empty, only peeling paint and the steel handrail gleaming faintly. But the sound had been real, distinct, the measured thump of weight pressing each step. I hurried down the last flight and shoved through the door into the basement corridor. The temperature dropped sharply. It smelled of damp earth and rusting pipes. The hall was long, lined with storage rooms. Some doors were ajar, swinging faintly as though disturbed. I passed one doorway and stopped cold. Inside, boxes of old records were stacked high. On the floor, however, were scattered sheets, hundreds of papers strewn, curling, layered, as if someone had tossed them in anger. Yet there was no draft here, no sign of disturbance other than their presence. The fluorescent bulb overhead hummed, dimmed, then pulsed brighter, casting the room in an uneven strobe. Out of the corner of my eye, I saw movement. A figure darted across the far end of the corridor, from one room to another. Too quick, too silent. My skin prickled, every nerve alive. I ran after it, instinct overruling reason, boots striking hard against the floor. The corridor seemed to stretch longer than it should have, each step echoing endlessly. When I reached the end, both rooms were empty, doors hanging open into blackness. Then came the banging. From above, the sound of doors slamming one by one, rapid fire, reverberating down through the stairwell. Bang, 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 each louder than the last. I looked up, heart racing, throat tight, but saw only the dark shaft and flickering bulbs. Suddenly the lights in the basement cut out completely. Darkness swallowed me, thick and absolute. My flashlight flickered once, twice, then steadied. In its beam, I saw the far wall of the corridor. Written in the dust on the bricks were finger streaks, fresh, long, jagged lines drawn downward as if by trembling hands. The hum of electricity returned abruptly. The fluorescence above burst back to life, buzzing and flickering. I spun, light catching another wheelchair in the middle of the hall facing me. This one hadn't been there seconds ago. Its wheels vibrated faintly, metal squeaking as though someone had just abandoned it mid-motion. The air pressed heavier against me. My chest heaved, breath rapid and shallow. I forced myself past it, shouldering the stairwell door and climbing fast. On the first floor again, the atmosphere was worse. Alarms were going off, not fire alarms, but old patient room monitors. Shrill beeps pierced the silence, overlapping, rising and falling in no order. I pushed through the hall, and each room I passed glowed red with emergency lights. Beds stripped bare, but monitors screeching as though vitals were crashing. In one room, I swore I saw a shape lying beneath the sheets, an outline of a body. I blinked, looked again. The bed was empty. The beeping grew louder, dissonant, nearly unbearable. I clutched my ears and hurried down the corridor. Suddenly, all the alarms cut out at once. The silence was crushing. Then came whispers. Not words, just a low collective murmur, rising and falling. It filled the hall, surrounded me. My flashlight flicked across the walls, but there was no one there. Still the sound pressed in, closer, louder. I broke into a run, sprinting down the corridor toward the administrative wing. My chest ached, lungs burning, vision blurred with sweat and panic. The doors at the far end loomed, half open. I slammed through them into a wide office space. Inside, the old nurses' station stood, counters covered in dust. On the far wall, filing cabinets stood ajar, their drawers rattling softly as if something inside them moved. My flashlight beam cut across. Papers fluttered, though no air stirred. I backed toward the exit. Behind me, the sound of footsteps approached again, fast this time, almost running. I spun, but the hall behind was empty. The steps stopped just short of me. I could feel pressure in the air, like standing beneath a live power line. My skin tingled, hair on my arms rising. The lights above burst, one after another, showering glass down in sparks. The room plunged into near darkness. My flashlight flickered erratically. In the strobe effect of its failing beam, I thought I saw figures, multiple this time, standing among the desks, unmoving, their forms pale and indistinct. Each time the beam died, they seemed closer. I bolted. My legs carried me through another corridor, down another stairwell, heart slamming so hard I thought I would collapse. I burst into the ground floor lobby, breath ragged, sweat stinging my eyes. The lobby was empty. The heavy oak front doors loomed ahead, slightly ajar. Outside, grey daylight pressed through, faint and welcome. I staggered forward, each step heavier than the last. The building behind seemed to breathe, to vibrate faintly, the echoes of whispers and footsteps still humming in my ears. I pushed the doors open and stepped into the cold air. The silence outside was absolute. I stood there, chest heaving, staring back at the hospital's blank windows. The building loomed, brick and shadow, expressionless. It gave nothing away. But I knew what I had heard, what I had seen, what had chased me through its halls in the span of those long, crushing hours. And I knew I had not been alone.